What's happening, guys? So it's part 2 of the 2-part video restoring this arch in Stratford upon Avon. Now I'd like to come on now and say how this job went all perfectly and we were able to get the arch 100%, but in all honesty I'll be lying to you. So what I didn't take into account when we made this little jig was any little discrepancies in the wall, in the levels, because we're relying on the walls running the timber against the wall. Any little wobbles is naturally it's going to throw the detail out on the moulding, and that's what was happening. So looks sound on the straight sections, but then as I ran it round and above onto the header, I was a little bit disappointed with the finish. Now the customer is happy with the job and it's a damn sight better than how it looked before, but you know what us plasterers are like, we like things to be 100% plumb crisp, and I just wasn't able to achieve that using this little widget that I made, guys. So but again, it is a massive improvement, and the important thing is that the customer's happy. So we're on to the next one, but see what you make of it, and don't forget to drop a comment in, subscribe if you haven't already done so, and we look forward to seeing you next week. Take care, guys, have a good weekend. Okay, so following on from last week then, guys, we're back here, we're back at the hotel, and we're making good, skimming all the walls out, and we've got this old arch that we're restoring, and you can see here the state of the walls where they'd removed the textured coats. So we've made good and got that curve back at the top. I actually used a tool that Anthony Parry recommended in his video, so heads up Anthony, thank you for sharing that with us. I've purchased one of these bad boys and it came in handy when we had to smooth out this curve you can see at the top of the walls there, so big up to Anthony. And yeah, we're going to look at this this arch again, guys. So as you can see, I've skimmed the face and the sides. I just need to run the knife down, get rid of these snots, try and straighten up these edges a little bit, and then we're going to run that little jig that I made, that little template we showed you last week. We made that with some perspex and timber. Now I did run the jig round the arch, guys, earlier, and I did notice a few discrepancies where the jig either scrapes along the mould or misses it by around 8mm. So I mean, here for example looks pretty good, but as we run it across, it gets a bit closer and then a bit further away. So I'm expecting a bit of a wobble along the top there, and we'll see what we can do, and hopefully it tidies it up all right. So I'm just wetting the edge down there, guys, and getting the first coat of finish on. As you can see, just using a little Kabbalah trowel there, which is a small Venetian trowel we found online, coming quite handy for reveals and jobs where you need to apply small amounts of gear. First pass now with the jig. What I found was on the straights it was quite effective, so providing your walls are nice and plumb both sides, because obviously you're relying on them, that's where your timber sits against, so providing that your walls are nice and plumb, the jig works real good and you get a half decent finish. Obviously not as good as you know, a steel bladed jig, but it gets a half decent finish. Where we come unstuck was the curved sections and across the top of the header, where the walls were running out slightly. We did try and level out as best we could the walls using the spats and stuff, but you know yourself, when you're re-skimming, there's only so much you can do with the shape of the wall with your spat. So what we found was where the walls were running out slightly, it did throw the jig off a little bit, which it meant that the moulding was compromised, which was a bit disappointing. But again, on the main bits where you can see running up to head height, luckily we were able to get a decent finish on the detailing. Again, in these sort of places where we've got a nice straight run, it come into play real good, but where we were running across the headers, not so good. So we've had a bit of a mess up here where the jig cracked. Had to do a sort of mid-job repair on it there. Again, there's a reason why they're not made of perspex. So as soon as you hit a bit of proud stuff, it just puts too much stress on that blade, and you can see there where I've had to sort of modify it for the right hand side. So it has got its limits, this jig, guys. It will get you out of trouble on the straights, but I think if I was to tackle one of these again, I'd probably get a moulding guy in, or take the time to have one specially made. Pete Carter's offered to actually make us one of these, but again, the client's happy and it has tidied the arch up, which is the important thing. But yeah, these little moulds, they have got their limits, and again, because you're relying on the straightness and you know the plumbness of the walls, if they're not 100% plumb and straight, then it will throw the detail off a little bit. But as you can see here, it's a big improvement compared to before, and the client's happy with it. So that's really the important thing. As always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next week. Take care.